Thanks for staying with us. Time now for a closer look at the significance of Friday's bombings in Pakistan and the toll militant groups are taking in the region. I'm now joined by Jean-Bernard Cadier, International Affairs Editor, for our top story. Now, from the moment bin Laden's killing in Pakistan went public, there were concerns that it could spark an upsurge in attacks by Islamist militants. It looks with Friday's bombings that the Taliban has made good on its threats.
Yeah, and it's the beginning of the enforcing of their threats, because the Pakistani Taliban says that it's the start of their revenge when they claim for this deadly, very deadly attack in Pakistan. First of all, the scale of this attack. We're now talking of a death toll of more than 80 people. The target, the Pakistani army, which is very interesting in this context of discussions with the United States of the role of the Pakistani armies in all this Pakistani-American relationships. And then the claim itself. Not only do they say we are taking revenge for the killing of Osama bin Laden, but there will be more in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. So that's a very big cause of concern for the area, for the rest of the world, for the revenge. And as French ourselves, maybe a cause of concern as well for our two journalists who are hostages in Afghanistan, because they are held by the Afghan Taliban, and we were told that there's no link between Al-Qaeda and Taliban. But if there's a link between Al-Qaeda Pakistan with Taliban Pakistan, which we saw this morning with this huge and horrific death toll, there should be a link between the Pakistani Taliban and the Afghan Taliban. Therefore, there's a real cause of concern for the two French hostages.
Well, yeah, as you've mentioned, the two French hostages, Stéphane Taponnier and Hervé Guéquier, are being held in Afghanistan after having been abducted by militants in Afghanistan. Today, Friday the 13th, marks the 500th day of their time spent in captivity. And as Jean-Bernard has mentioned, fears have been growing as to their safety in the wake of the killing of Osama bin Laden.
500 days since Stéphane Taponnier and Hervé Guéquier were taken hostage. The two French TV journalists were abducted, along with their 3 Afghan escorts, on December 29, 2009, in Afghanistan's Kapisa Valley.
It's very long, one of the longest hostage situations in the history of French journalism.
But they haven't been forgotten. Their families and friends have worked relentlessly to keep their names in the spotlight. Stéphane Taponnier's brother addressed the UN on May 4th, World Press Freedom Day.
When they were caught, they were only doing their job, with only their press card for protection. It's a question of honor for journalists to independently cover such conflict zones, despite the dangers and criticism. How are they? Where are they? We don't know. The last pictures we saw of them were released 6 months ago. We have no choice but to continue living with this extreme pain and endless weight.
Initially, the media was asked to keep quiet in order to facilitate negotiations. The journalists' names weren't given. When they still hadn't been freed 4 months later, their identities were revealed. Public support has built ever since. Rallies and concerts have been held to spread the word, and TV stations remind viewers of their situation every single day. Hervé Guéquier and Stéphane Taponnier's supporters have vowed to fight on, however long it takes.
So, Jean-Bernard, as we saw there, two French nationals still held by Islamist militants in Afghanistan. Now, there have been a very tense relationship between France and the insurgency. Does France have any plans on pulling out of Afghanistan?
Not at this point, but the pressure will be mounting. And let's not forget the 4 other French hostages who are held in Africa, in Niger, and where the hostage takers claimed responsibility and said that they would be released if the French soldiers withdrew from Afghanistan. Is it likely that the French soldiers withdrew from Afghanistan? No. Even though at this point 56% of the French are asking for this withdrawal. Not at this point. There are 4,000 soldiers in Afghanistan, and France is in a coalition, and it depends mostly on what Obama is going to do, on what Cameron is going to do. There is a popular pressure, public pressure after the killing of bin Laden, but the high-ranked military is kind of reluctant, saying the situation is slightly improving in Afghanistan, and at the same time we have to admit that the situation in Pakistan is getting worse and worse.
Thank you very much, Jean-Bernard Cadier, the international affairs editor, updating us on the situation in the wake of the killing of Osama bin Laden and on the 500th day spent in captivity of 2 French journalists. Now, please do stay tuned. More coming up after this short break.